my soul.
Hello, Austin. My name is Randy White, and I'm your local Austin Realtor. It is March 2022, and it is time for us to do a market report. So today we're going to focus on three main topics, one being the big question of, are home prices accelerating? Yes. We're going to also talk about supply and demand and how that is affecting home price appreciation today, and then we'll wrap it up and talk about overall net worth. Before we get started, if you wouldn't mind hitting subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and then if you like what I share in this video, could you please like it? It's a super help for me. All right, without further ado, let's get started. Can you believe we are officially 2 years past from when the pandemic hit and fundamentally changed just about everything we do in life? And the housing market certainly was not immune to that. In fact, I think one of the biggest things that changed was home price appreciation. And so that's what I want to start off with first, is taking a look at how that was affected over the last few years. In 2020, CoreLogic shows us that we had a 6% home price appreciation. Isn't that cute? Now, I'm kind of kidding because before the pandemic, on average, home price appreciation was around 3.8%. For Austin, it was 5%. So to have nationally 6% home price appreciation, that was a pretty significant number. And then we dived into 2021, where we watched those numbers nearly double. And that has everything to do with supply and demand. We had way too many buyers and not enough houses on the market to supply all of the buyers. And so it led to this crazy amount of appreciation. And I want to take a look at what that's going to mean for us in the future. And so what we're going to do is first start off with analyzing 2021 in particular and what that home price appreciation was doing that year. So to answer the question of, are home prices still accelerating, the answer is yeah. And we're going to do that. We're going to take a look at that by showing this graph that shows year-over-year appreciation by the month. And we're going all the way back to January of 2021. I remember that month vividly. It was quite a shocker for me and my buyers. So if you look all the way over to the left of January 2021, you're going to see that there's 10% home price appreciation. So what that's saying is that from January 2020 to January 2021, the home price is appreciated by 10%. So nuts. And then you can see that as the months carried on, it just really started to skyrocket and take off. And then we get to about July, August, and so forth, and it starts to level off at about 18%. So it's about here that we start having the discussion in my videos and the experts that I follow of, hey, are home prices going to start to decelerate, meaning appreciate at a slower pace? The reality of it is that that 18% kind of held steady for the remainder of the year until we got to December and January, and it started to tick back up again. So the buyer demand pressed on the throttle some, and they're starting to bid and compete with each other and causing these prices to continue to rise back up again. I've got another interesting map for you that was put together by the FHFA, and it shows state by state home price appreciation, or the increase of home prices. And you can see that the national average was 17.5%. And you know, from state to state it varies on, some people did more and some states did less. But overall, no depreciation in the entire country. Everybody increased their home prices. And this is a direct result of supply and demand. If you could draw a little circle just around Austin, it would be the dark blue-black color at greater than 25%. Now let's break this down even further, and it gets really interesting. So we're going to look at the past 5 years, and the national average is 54.5% home price appreciation. So although 2021 was really blasting off from us, what this is showing is very low inventory, very high buyer demand, and year after year after year, home price appreciation is taking off. Let's take it one step further and go back 30 years, all the way to 1991. Can you believe that that's 30 years ago? But anyway, I digress. Now the national average is 258%, and that's with the housing crisis inside of there and everything. So if you think about, should I buy, should I not, should I jump in on this race, are the prices going to depreciate? No, It looks like the solid idea is to always buy some real estate because it continues to appreciate year after year. So, home prices have definitely appreciated and have historically been a pretty sound investment. As you decide what's going to be the next best step or how to take things forward, let's take a look at what the forecasters are saying for 2022's appreciation. So this chart shows 7 key entities that all forecast what's going on in the real estate market, and then that green bar there averaged all of them into the same statistic and is showing a roughly 6.1% home price appreciation as a forecast for 2022. CoreLogic is a little bit on the high end with 9%. Zelman's is coming in on the low end at 3%. But the moral of the story here is that everybody's projecting it to continue to trend upwards. And that's a direct result of supply and demand. And we will continue to see this trajectory upward as long as the inventory continues to be low. Now, there is a nod, of course, to more sellers coming to the market this year, since the pandemic seems to be in the past a little bit, and new construction is really pushing forward and pushing on, and so that should really help ease some pressure. Now, for Austin in particular, these numbers are actually really on the conservative side. You can probably expect Austin to do another 15 to 20% appreciation this year, and that's going to have a lot to do with us just needing a bigger push on our new construction, and I actually did talk about that in my Austin economic forecast video, which you can click just above here to check out if you want to see some more Austin specific data. Let's dive in on supply and demand, just to make sure everybody kind of gets what I'm talking about with that. So here's a graph that shows seller's market, neutral market, and buyer's market. And we are just squarely in that seller's market space. There are more buyers than there is inventory, and so they're competing with each other, and that causes the prices to go up. So anytime that there is not enough product and too many buyers for the product, buyers are just willing to pay more for that item because they can't get their hands on it, and so it shoots the prices up. The neutral market is where all those things kind of balance out, and then a buyer's market is when there's not going to be enough buyers for the homes that are out there, and so the prices will start to decline. So a question comes up of, okay, so what does that look like from the listing side? And I have another graph to show us that. So this first one is just showing you new listings for the year 2021. So somebody's ready to sell their house, we get it all ready, and then we put it on the MLS or put it out there on Zillow, and so it's a new listing. And that's what this graph is showing you. And you can see that, and this is coming out by the thousands, that as you start to get into October, November, December, it dips down below what was going on in January of 2021. Now, seasonally, that makes sense. People don't tend to list over the holidays, and so that's really not a surprise that would show that way. However, if you remember from our graph earlier in the video, January 2021 showed a 10% price appreciation because how low the inventory was, and the problem just got worse. You know, we got up to 18% price appreciation, and all of that is because of historically low inventory. So for us to have dropped new listings there at the end of the year, October, November, December, when we're already at such a extremely low inventory to begin with, it's concerning. And it continues to actually drop right now as we speak. Inventory continues to drop into these low levels. This next graph is showing you active listings. So before we were looking at new listings, they just hit the market, and now we're going to take a look at homes that are just active on the market. And they also are declining in that October-November space of 2021. And what that tells you is that homes are just not staying active. They're not hanging out on the market. They're not wheeling and dealing. They go straight to pending. They get sold right away. And so when that's happening, when inventory comes to the market and flies right off the shelves, it's a frenzy, and it causes the prices to rise, and it's all directly related to this critically low inventory that people keep talking about. As these prices take off and skyrocket, it makes people start to wonder and ask questions about the housing market. And they remember the last time that housing prices skyrocketed was the housing crash. And so a really interesting study was done by Realtor.com. They asked people Do you think you're in a housing bubble in your area? And 77% of people do believe that in their area they are inside of a housing bubble. And if you've watched my videos for the past year, you will know that from the data that I collect and watch and share with all of you guys, I firmly believe we are not headed for a housing crash. We are not inside of a housing bubble. That is not the structure of what is going on here. The reason that I was doing a bit of supply and demand schooling before is because I'm going to dive in again about why I don't feel like we're in a housing bubble, because it's everything to do with supply and demand. So here's a graph that shows housing inventory for the month of December all the way back to 2003. And if you'll see the orange bars, those are the 2003 to 2007, the housing crash years. And it's clearly in that buyer's market space where there is way too much inventory, not enough buyers out there for it. And that goes back to that graph that I showed you before where we had the seller's market, the neutral market, and the buyer's market. Now take a look over at our inventory of today and you can see how little amount of house we have, which is just nothing to shop for. 9.6 months of inventory in 2007. 9.4 months of inventory in 2008. For those of you that are not a realtor and you don't know what I'm saying right now, I'm saying that's a shit ton of houses. Ain't nobody got time for that. Seriously, that is significantly higher than what we have going on today. And then if you take a look at even 2018, which was kind of a record low in itself, that's 3.2 months of inventory. I would love to have that right now, but we don't. And so this is just, I'm trying to show how we are in a significantly different market, supply and demand market, than what was fostering and creating that situation in the housing market crash. When the supply is extremely low, it causes the prices to shoot up. Whenever there are too many houses, it causes the price to go down. That's supply and demand. The buyers that are out there and shopping right now have a lot of cash. They're putting 20% down, the loans are very sound, and a ton of them are just straight up cash buyers. So the money is there. The foundation of what's buying all the houses, the little amount of houses that are out there, is real. Whereas before, in the housing crash, that was a house of cards. That was not real money. That was terrible loans being made up that nobody could back up. Supply, demand, supply, demand. And it's not even just the supply side of things that's causing the problem, it's also the demand side. We have a crazy amount of buyers. We hit a 15-year record of home sales in 2021. So in this graph, you'll see that in 2019, we had 5.4 million. In 2020, we had 5.6 million. And in 2021, we crushed it with 6.1 million home sales, a 15-year record. Buyers are out there and they are aggressive and they are ready to buy. They are actively in the market. And again, they are able to afford what they're trying to buy. So let's take a look at that. I got a graph here that shows loans made with a credit score less than 620. And you can clearly see that in those years of that housing market crash, they were writing those up left and right. You come over to the loans that are being written today with a credit score of less than 620, and it is significantly less. Again, the structure of what is going on in the housing market is completely different than what was going on during that housing bubble of 2008. So, stricter lending standards, the credit scores are definitely running a much tighter ship this time around, and homeowners have an incredible amount of home equity to protect themselves against any situation that might come up. So a lot of that has to do with the 20% down payment, and then of course the incredibly rising home price appreciation. I want to segue this over into talking about net worth and how the long-term benefits of homeownership are outstanding. Up first, we have data that NAR put together from the year 2021 showing the average net worth of a homeowner is around $300,000. Compare that to the average net worth of a renter being about $8,000. $300,000 versus $8,000. I mean, Talk about, trying to build some future financial benefits and having a long-term goal. Just take a look at this data that I'm sharing with you today. The 300,000 versus the 8,000, the home price appreciation over the last year, 5 years, 30 years. Homeownership is the way to build something for yourself. I got another one for you. How about the net worth of a homeowner is 40 times the amount of the net worth of a renter? So I know that everyone out there has their own timeline and their own reasons for what they're doing right now with their money and their living situation. And what comes first and foremost is for you to handle your business the way that you need to. It is just my job to share data that I consume every day about the housing market to make sure that you guys understand what's going on out there. This is just my opinion, and there are several others out there that you should take in and research and figure out what's the right fit for you. So I want to finish things off with a quote here from National Association of Realtors. It says, while the booming housing market contributed significantly to the recovery of the U.S. economy, research has consistently shown that home ownership is also associated with multiple economic and social benefits to individual homeowners. Homeownership is a key piece to building wealth, and I feel like the data says that loud and clear. Home prices are appreciating and are continuing to accelerate, and it is all due to supply and demand. So, is there a housing bubble? No. All the data that I showed you today should hopefully calm your concerns or answer any questions you have about the housing market and what the hell is going on out there. If you have any additional questions, or if you're considering buying or selling in the Austin market, I would love to chat with you. My name is Randy White, and I'm your local Austin Realtor. It is a total pleasure doing these videos for you guys, and if you like the content that I share, then please subscribe to my channel so you get notified each week whenever I upload a new video about the real estate market or about hanging out in Austin. If you like this video in particular, then give me a like so that YouTube knows you like my stuff. I will see you guys next week. Thank you.
Well, I'm going down to Austin, Texas. I'm going down to save my soul.